Look at these beauties. And it's sort of staying on the back of the spoon. That's what you're looking for. Oh wow. So fresh and so delicious. I haven't had bruschetta for such a long time. I used to make this in the cafe all the time. Do a drizzle. That's the other way of doing it. Oh, this is delicious. Good morning, welcome back to Farmer's Wife Homestead. I'm Stacey if this is the first time we're meeting. Oh, look. Oh, can you see? You can't really see. I've got my little piggy apron on today that a lovely viewer sent me. Right, we are going to be making the balsamic glaze, balsamic reduction, whichever you like to call it. And I haven't made it for years actually. I used to make it when I had a cafe. In case you didn't know, I had a cafe. I've worked in a couple of cafes actually, and I used to make this reduction all the time and put it over the side salads and stuff like that. So as I said, haven't made it for years, but it's really super simple. There is a couple of ways of doing it. So I've just grabbed a bottle of, I've just got the Pam's balsamic vinegar, 500ml bottle, and some people just use just the balsamic vinegar and just reduce it down, which we are going to do. But I like to add a bit of brown sugar, and that just gives it a little bit more of sweeter, glazy, I don't know, it's just, that's the way I've made it. I've never made it with no sugar. So if you wanted to make it with no sugar, by all means you can make it with no sugar, and it's going to be just as usable. So it's so simple, so easy. And then after we've made it, we're going to do a couple of recipes. I think I'll just pop into town and get a couple of bits and pieces that I need, but I thought we might make bruschetta. I'll show you two ways of making bruschetta. Right, let's get this on the stove. Normally I would use a pot, but just so that you can see easier, I'm just going to use a saucepan. It's up to you what you want to do. I reckon a slow cooker would work quite well as well if you want to make it really hands off. So I'm basically just going to pour this whole bottle. I'm going to take the little cap out. And just a warning, this is going to stink out your kitchen. Now there's other types of flavourings that you could put in here, and maybe if you like this recipe we could make some other reductions as well. So let me know if you're interested in some other reductions. And once you make this, it'll store for ages. So I've popped that in there, and I've got some brown sugar, and because I'm making something sweet, I just want to put a little bit of salt in there to counteract it. Now I'm starting with a cup of sugar. If it's not as sweet as I would like it, this is where you get to play around with the recipe. As I said, you don't have to put the sugar in it, but if you want it sweeter, put the sugar in. If you want less and do half a cup, do half a cup. If you want it even more sweeter, do that. That's entirely over to you. Okay, so I'm just stirring in that brown sugar. And we're going to bring it up to the boil, and then once it's at the boil we're going to turn it down. I decided to go into town before I started reducing it, because then I'm like, oh, if I'm here then I can just watch it. So I turned it down too much, so it's going to come back up to a simmer. And but be warned, as I said, you will get a very vinegary smell, and you can almost taste it through your house, but I personally love it. So I went and I picked up a baguette. Yes, I have a baguette recipe. Yes, I've got baguette pans. Could I be bothered making some today? No. So I went and brought one. So I grabbed that. I grabbed a red onion. I saw this beautiful avocado, and I thought, you know what, I haven't had guacamole for years, and I've got so many tomatoes, cherry tomatoes growing at the moment, so I'm going to make some guacamole. I'll show you that. like I said, it's probably been about 10, at least 10 years since I've made guacamole. And we're going to make bruschetta 2 different ways, one with feta and one without feta. And we will use this baguette. Alright, so yeah, we'll start putting this stuff together so that it can marinate. I'm just going to go and put my hair up, put my apron on, wash my hands, do all those things, and then we will start getting all these little bits and pieces ready. Tonight we're going to have leftover boxed mac and cheese. So I made all 3 recipes. I'll link that recipe up here if you haven't seen it. And we had it for dinner last night, and we're going to have the leftovers tonight as well. So that's great. That's 2 nights off cooking basically for me. And we will have bruschetta, all the little bruschetta, and we'll have guacamole and corn chips, and it's going to be a yummy dinner. And then I need to go and pick cherry tomatoes. I don't think I can take you with me. It's just so bright out there. So I'll just leave you in the kitchen, and I'll just go and pick some. Look at these beauties. Honestly, I could probably get 5 more containers of these. My favourite ones, I picked all the ones that are just starting to ripen for any animals get them. And lots of cherries. And good news is my romas are starting to come right. So the lime did the trick, and I'm watering regularly, so that helps as well. Some of these are so ripe and so warm from the sun that they just are bursting as soon as you touch them. And I've eaten a couple on the way back to the kitchen, and it's almost like they're cooked because it's so hot out there. But the intensity and the sweetness is just incredible. So I need to spend probably an hour out in the garden, possibly this evening. Well, yes, I do need to go out this evening when it cools down a bit, and I will harvest some more for the freezer, because Party Dance Pasta, that should be its new name, Party Dance Pasta. I want to have, oh gosh, what are the winter months before I want enough tomatoes that I could make the pasta dish maybe 5 times in the space of between now and maybe, I don't know, a year. So this has still been simmering down when I went outside. So as I said, hair up, aprons on and all the rest, and we will start organising this bruschetta. So it's reduced down, possibly getting close to half now. But what you're looking for is it to coat the back of the spoon, and it's sort of run a little bit, well, not run together, but it just needs to be a bit thicker. It does thin down as it cools, but what I do want to do is check the sweetness level and see if I like it. Oh yeah, this is cool. As it's cooling, I can see it's getting thicker, so we're very, very close. It's still got a little bit of a tartness. Yeah, I think once it reduces down a little bit more, I'll be quite happy with that. So what you're looking for is, see, it's just got that little bit more of a thickness than watery when you stir, and the bubbles are smaller. So that's about perfect. And like I said, it's reduced down by half. So maybe it's taken about half an hour. And remember what I said about it, what's the word I'm looking for? Remember what I said about it coating the back of the spoon. So just put the spoon in, and it's sort of staying on the back of the spoon. That's what you're looking for. So I've now just taken that off the heat, and we're just going to let that cool right down so that we can use it later on before we make up the bruschetta. So as I said before, we're going to make up the actual bruschetta mix now, but I will I'll probably just do a couple of little samples just to show you, and then I'll make the rest up for the family a bit later on. Another way that you can see if it's going to be thick enough is pop a little bit on a cold plate, and there's this I've got some on the spatula because I've just put it into another container here, and I can see that it's sort of running a lot slower, see, as it's cooling. So that's going to be oh wow, so good. Sweet, still got that tang, so easy. Hello again. Well, I started this video on Friday, it's now Monday. I took the weekend off and we're going to finish this recipe. So the balsamic glaze is all done, it's cooled down, and let me tell you, it is delicious. I even got husband to try some and he was screwing his nose up at it and he was like, oh, that's okay. So this is the consistency. It's kind of like molasses or treacle, and that's perfect. So just remember, you might think that it's like too thin, but as long as it's coating the back of that spoon when you're heating it up, it will thicken up, because as you can remember, it was still quite fluid, but it has thickened up a lot. Now if you over reduce it, all you have to do is put in some more balsamic vinegar and just thin it down a bit and just heat it up again. Okay, so that's just that little trick there. I've been enjoying tomatoes dipped in it all weekend long, and it's delicious. So I managed to get some parmesan, shaved parmesan, so we're going to use that for one of the recipes. And then I've got some feta. This is cow feta, but I quite like goat feta as well, for the different, the second way of making bruschetta. Well, the second way that I make bruschetta. And the feta one I got from my daughter's best friend, and hopefully she doesn't mind me sharing this. And I had to go out and pick a whole heap more tomatoes, and here's the French stick. I chucked that in the freezer. It is super dried out, super crusty now, which is not ideal, but we are going to be baking it anyway, so yeah, hopefully it'll be okay. Alright, without further ado, let's get back into this video. And I just letting you know, I'm not doing the guacamole today because I've decided to put it in a different video. Alright, so let's come down and make up, what one should we do? We'll organise the bread first. So, you can see how super dry it is. So what I want to do is just cut off little bits about that big, about that thick, and pop it onto my baking tray, because it makes little bite size. There's a multitude of other recipes that you can make with the balsamic glaze as well, and we will look at doing some recipes in the near future using the glaze as well as these two that I'm sharing today. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm just putting a little bit, just a bit of butter on the top here. You could put you know, some really nice drizzle of olive oil, and you could melt your butter and put it on using a, what's the word I'm looking for, using a pastry brush, but I've just got some soft butter here, so I'm just going to use that, and that will help give it some flavour, but it will also help hydrate that bread a little bit. Another way that you can rehydrate bread a little bit if it gets too crusty like this has. For this recipe it's not so bad because we're going to be putting stuff on top, but you can just spritz some water, just plain water, over your bread and then bake it, because it'll help steam it. Now I'm just going to pop that in my air fryer, just sort of maybe for a couple of minutes, just to sort of crisp it up and melt that butter. Alright, so I just put that up in this air fryer up here on 200 for 5 minutes. So we'll have a look at it and see if it's ready. Now we're just going to process these tomatoes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get some red onion. I'm going to do this one first so that it's got a little bit of time to marinate. And I'll just give you the basic recipe, but it's pretty much, you know, as you please, the quantities. In other words, if you want to make up a whole heap, then just double or triple the recipe. And you want nice fine red onion, because this is raw, so you don't want too big a chunk. Of red onion, although I absolutely adore raw onion. So if you don't, feel free to leave it out of the recipe. Okay, so I've got two different sizes. I've got these bigger cherry tomatoes and these little itty bitty ones. I'm going to use the bigger ones for the other bruschetta. These little ones, and some of them are split because they're so ripe. So I've only just picked them, so I know that they're fine. And I'm just going to run a knife and halve them. And once I've done that, I'll save you from ages of me doing this. So I'll come back once I've got all these processed. Okay, so there's the tomatoes. All the seeds are in there, the juice is in there. Now I'm just going to take some basil leaves and I'm just going to tear some basil leaves in there. You can put as much or as little as you want. If you don't have fresh, dried basil would work okay. Fresh would be better. So we are just going to put that in there, and then we're going to put the balsamic glaze in there to help macerate this a little bit, and then we will put the cheese in as well. The only other thing we need is some salt and pepper. Just to your desire. Okay, now I'm just going to take a drizzle. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Drizzle into the bruschetta mix. And some parmesan shards. If you can only get the grated stuff, that's okay. But I prefer this one for this actual bruschetta. So fresh and so delicious. Right, now I better give it a taste. It does need to macerate for a little bit, but we'll try it. Oh, so fresh tasting. I'm just going to put a little bit more of the glaze in there. And you can drizzle it on the top as well. Oh, I haven't had bruschetta for such a long time. I used to make this in the cafe all the time. Right. So, I'm just going to put that in the fridge, I don't know, for 5 minutes. Okay, so I've got the feta and I'm just going to cut it into about that size. Because they need to fit the size of whatever bread you're doing. I forgot to mention you can add garlic to that other bruschetta mix, but I actually like it just without it. But what you can do is take a garlic clove and get your, this is what the bread came out like, the dry on one side and the buttery side, is you can take a fresh garlic clove and just give it a rub over the bread, and that will give a bit of a garlic taste without it being too pungent. So I'm just going to make up 4 of these ones, so I know the family won't eat the feta one. So you take a piece of feta and plop that on there. Take a cherry tomato and pop them on like that. Either or, plonk them whichever way you like. And that's probably better that way. And then you're going to add some basil. And just stick it to the cheese, it's fine. And then with this one, you're just going to do a drizzle. If you've got a little squeezy bottle, it'd be good to have a squeezy bottle. Right, I just know that this is going to be really messy to eat, so I'm going to turn around. So good. Definitely better to use the bread that's fresher. It has dried out a little bit, but all the tastes are there. So yum. This is so fresh tasting, and you can see just how easy it is to make that glaze. And then with this one, you just pop everything onto there. Try and get a little bit of everything. Some of the cheese, some of the basil. The other thing that you could do is like cut a loaf sort of lengthwise like that, and instead of making little bite-sized ones, you could make whole ones, and then you could just slice it from there. But That's the other way of doing it, and that's the way that I used to make it for years. And then again, just a drizzle. Okay, so there's the other version. Right. Cheers. Out of the two, this one I prefer better. Like the feta one's really nice as well. Really quick to make. But I like the extra flavours of the shaved parmesan and the crunch of the onion. Oh, this is delicious. I forgot how good it is. I know it'd be much better with the little less stale bread, but I should have just made my own. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed those two little recipes, two different ideas of using your balsamic glaze. And as I said, if you want me to show you some more recipes using balsamic glaze, let me know in the comments and we can go ahead and do that in an up and coming video. Alright, thank you for being here, and thank you for letting me know that you wanted to see this recipe, and now you know how easy it is to make. And I hope that you make your own. Now, as far as storage goes, you can pop it into, I'm going to pop mine into some jars, just pop it in the fridge. Well, I don't know if it's going to thicken up too much in the fridge. It is only vinegar and sugar, so therefore they are natural preservatives, so I will probably keep mine on the shelf. But yeah, try put it in the fridge if you like, but just be warned, it could thicken up too much. Anywho, I will see you on the next one, hopefully. Alright, thanks for being here. Bye for now.